Good morning, everybody. This is Lucien Smith in for Gerard Gibbert here on Middays, coming to you live today from the Element Wealth Studio. Are you thinking about or planning for retirement? Do you have a plan? Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006. Let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. Well, with us in studio is Representative Fred Shanks, chairman of the House Rules Committee. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Good. Glad to be here.
Congrats on having having the session behind you.
Hey, this was a big one, and I'm glad to be in the studio and out of it.
How? Yeah, I can imagine. Tell me, how you've been in the legislature how long now?
This was my 7th session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. In my mind, you're still one of the new guys, but you're kind of a veteran by now.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Representative Price Wallace sits next to me, and we were talking this year. We're like, man, we've kind of actually figured out how this thing works now.
It does take a little while. I don't think people realize that. You first get elected, and you've got all these big plans. It takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out how the actual process works.
Yeah, I told a bunch of, we got a really good new group of freshmen that came in and had several conversations with them, but I told them, like, look, just sit back, don't expect anything, just ask a lot of questions and listen.
Well, it was a busy session. Yeah, this was I know you know this, but the first year after an election, it's a 120-day session, so y'all were here all the way through April, right down to Saturday.
To the bitter end, yes. Had a lot going on. I mean, we started off, as you remember, we had 2 special sessions within the session.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
It really does. I had to kind of think about it on the way over here and what exactly we did then. But we had the Amazon deal and then the battery deal in Marshall County. And, just really got some good accomplishments out of those.
Yeah, straight out of the gate. Y'all got a budget put together.
That's right.
What, $7 billion?
That's it, man. And we did that in one day. We voted on that $7 billion.
That's
in appropriations. It's crazy.
They've gotten considerably bigger than it once was. The state continues to grow, which is a good thing. So let's talk a little bit about Medicaid expansion. Mm-hmm. That was one of the hot button issues this year. The House obviously had the Speaker came out strong for Medicaid expansion. There was an effort in the Senate also, but it ultimately didn't pass. The House and the Senate were just too far apart, as I appreciate it.
Yeah. The big sticking point was the work requirement. The thought is that if it had a work requirement in it, it's still got to go to the feds, and they wouldn't go for that, having the work requirement. Although our position in the House was that try it with that, and the feds are not obviously fond of Mississippi at all, but they really want us to do this, and we thought, well, let's just do a Hail Mary, take it to them, and they might show us a little grace on that.
So what is that? Can you sort of give, or what's your position on expansion? Are you for Medicaid expansion, or where'd you end up on it?
I did. I voted for it. Kind of my thoughts on it with what the House was wanting to do. The state would have netted an additional $600-700 million on the deal. And the more I started thinking about it, knowing the federal government, they're going to find somewhere to waste that money. I mean, really, they're going to throw it away. It's going to go to Ukraine. So the money's going to be spent regardless. So the more I thought about it, I'm like, look, why don't we try to get it? Let's get it back.
Well, and I do think whether you're for it or against it, we are in a different environment in 2024 than we were in 2013, back
Absolutely.
When the Republicans in Congress were saying, we're going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. All this is going away. Yeah. We've had that opportunity a few times, and Republicans in Congress haven't repealed and replaced the ACA.
And it's probably not I know it's not. It's not a popular issue in my district, but I started thinking about statewide, a lot of rural areas. So I started really seeing the big picture on it. So.
What kind of feedback do you get in the district? You have some people on both sides of it?
Oh, yeah. My district, I heard really from about 5-6 people that didn't want it. And of course, if anybody called or texted me, I responded, and, we talked it out, but that's about as many as I got.
Really?
Yeah.
What about on the education front? That was I know you're not a member of the education committee, but obviously the House came out for a massive change in education, and as I appreciate it, we've now repealed the MAP formula.
Yeah, which is good because there was only one person that could read that. But no, Rob Robertson, Jansen Owen, Kent McCarty, they all did a fantastic job on that. I was highly in favor of it. It basically sends the money. It follows the student in the classroom, and kind of cuts down on some of the bloat, some of these additional programs. But no, that's an absolute home run.
Yeah. Well, glad to see us do it. I assume, was that ultimately fully funded?
Yeah. We are giving, I think, an additional $230 million into education over what we had done in the past. So I think it's a little under $3 billion total.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that we got that done because, for years it seems to me that the Democrats have used the MAP formula essentially as a weapon to hit Republicans over the head with
100%.
Every election cycle.
Yeah. It's something that just it can't be funded, but they can always use it against you to say, hey, y'all aren't doing enough.
That's right. Yeah. And there's always, but now, even though Republicans have been spending more money on education than has ever been spent before, the fact that you weren't at the MAP funding level allowed them to use it against the party in elections. So, for you, what were sort of your major focuses this session? What would you most celebrate that came out of this legislative session?
Well, I got 2 bills passed of my own I'm real proud of. One being squatted trucks, and that got a lot of controversy. And I will say this, they don't have those in England. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there. Somebody who said something's going to know who I'm talking about.
I think I saw the email you're talking about.
There you go. But we got that done. That was a safety issue.
Tell us a little bit about what that is, because I don't know that everybody's familiar.
Well, same thing. Everybody came to me and wanted. Robert Johnson quite didn't know what it was either when we got in a big discussion on the floor. But kind of I'd say younger men are jacking up the front end of their truck to where you're basically you cannot see 30, 40, 50 feet in front of you. And it was something that started in South Carolina. It's called South Carolina squat. And you leave the back of your truck just squatted down. It looks crazy. But as you were, and I've driven one, a friend of mine.
You're kind of up at an angle. You're looking in the air.
Yeah. You can't see 2 or 3 cars ahead of you. And I had, multiple law enforcement judges, all my local judges were against it. And they pushed me to, look into it. And, we got it passed, got it signed. So
doesn't that seem like a safety issue?
Heck yeah. It changes up the braking, the suspension, and all of that. And then, of course, a lot of people are concerned about the lights. They all have the LED lights on the front. So as you have oncoming traffic, you're blinding people coming up. Huh. So, yeah, I heard it from everybody.
What was the other piece of legislation?
I worked with Sean Tyndall on a bill that it strengthens the Board of Minimum Standards. And what that is they keep police certificates. So if you are a certified officer, that's who keeps your certification up. And we have given that board the ability to investigate and subpoena, records, if there's misconduct. And it also includes a training portion where you have to have so many hours per year. Because right now, sheriff's departments and the state level law enforcement don't have to have that.
Really?
Yeah. So we're going to do that, and it worked out really good, and my hat's off to Sean Tyndall. He did a really good job on that.
Yeah. So I assume if the commissioner was for it, that had pretty good law enforcement support?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a board currently on there, but we've restructured it and added more, sheriffs, police chiefs, got a couple constables on there. So it's well represented across the board for the whole law enforcement community.
Interesting. Are you already, at this point, are you just trying to catch up on your paying job, or are you already thinking about the 2025 legislative session so you can you can get after it when you get back?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do some weed eating. That's going to be one thing I'm kind of working on right now. But yeah, I'm already, thinking about next year. Price Wallace and I had a suffrage bill that we were working on, and it didn't quite make it through, but we did have a lot of good conversations on it. I think we're going to push for that again.
This would be a general law about
to restore some voting rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
For specific crimes, or?
Yeah, there is a list. Yeah, and if someone has been out, if you hit one of those crimes, and it's obviously nonviolent, and if you hit one of those and you're clean for 5 years, you've paid your debt back to society, and you're out, then, hey, why not? So,
right now, are all? Is there a general suffrage law right now, or is it all these individual bills where they're putting somebody back in?
It's individual, which we did a couple of those this year. I think we probably did half a dozen.
I always hear those towards the tail end.
Oh, yeah.
Where they go through and explain it. You got time for another segment?
Sure, I'll stick around.
Y'all, this is Lucien Smith in for Gerard Gibbard here on Middays, coming to you from the Element Wealth Studio on SuperTalk Mississippi. Stick with us for more with Representative Fred Shanks. Good morning, everybody. This is Lucien Smith in for Gerard Gibbard here on Middays, coming to you live from the Element Wealth Studio. Are you thinking about or planning for retirement? Do you have a plan? Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. But with us in studio, we still have Representative Fred Shanks, chairman of the House Rules Committee, helping us decipher a little bit everything that happened during this legislative session. If you've got thoughts or questions for the chairman, hit us up in the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Well, I guess you had to suspend the rules to bring the SAFER Act back to life?
That's correct. It died, and then there was a huge amount of blowback just on people who obviously wanted to keep it going. I did myself. I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and that's exactly what this act was designed to do. It's essentially it protects women and girls in the bathrooms. I know nationally we've got a big problem with males just using bathrooms, and I think the last one I heard about was Planet Fitness. It got to be a big dust up. And this protects them, and if there's someone who violates this law, they can be sued for damages.
And it's as simple as just saying a man can't go into a woman's bathroom.
Correct.
It's amazing. It's just extraordinary to me that that's controversial.
Oh, I know. I know.
If 10 or 20 years ago I'd said to you, you know what, I don't think men ought to go in women's bathrooms, you'd say, Lucian's a weirdo.
Why even bring it up?
Why is he even bringing that up?
Yeah.
And now it's a controversial thing in the legislature.
That's right, man. It was a hot topic, I tell you what. And yes, I was certainly glad to do that and keep it going. Of course, it passed, no problem, and it's on its way to the governor.
But it died earlier in the session and had to be brought back to life.
Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily the bill that was the problem. I think there was probably some other issues as to why it died. But yeah, we ended up getting it back pretty quick, and a lot of floor debate on it. It was good, to get everybody's blood flowing, and and we passed it, and it's a done deal now.
Mobile sports betting. I know that's another one that people came close to happening this year.
Yes.
What you want to tell us a little bit about what happened there?
It passed the House. I'm not quite sure what happened in the Senate, but for all the listeners who are kind of our age, that's a big deal, and that's certainly one of the things I would like to push and work on for next year to get it done. All kind of everybody in my circle, I don't really have anybody that goes to a casino. But if they're at home on the weekend and want to, put a little something on the game, they're going to do that. Especially, and it would go through a Mississippi casino to do that. But absolutely, I think that would be a home run.
Yeah. On PERS, that was another area. Y'all had I guess it's typical of a 120-day session, but this was a busy legislative session for y'all.
Pretty much any big issue. And I would say this, Speaker White told us before the session started that we were going to take on all these issues, and he was not lying. We took all of them on. But yeah, PERS, what we did, I guess the big thing is we increased employer contribution rates to 0.5% until 2028, I believe. And then we installed, they'll have two actuarials, and they'll be independent of each other. And, just to give some transparency, we just want to make sure this thing's going right for, 20, 30 years down the road.
And did that was another one that died and had to be resurrected through a suspension resolution, or did that just work its way through naturally?
No, yeah, it did.
Okay.
It did, yeah.
So also some legislation, as I understand it, that MDOT was looking for. I guess MDOT was looking for some sort of increased funding this year, and that ultimately wasn't successful.
Well, we gave them I want to say it was $300 million.
Okay.
Yeah, MDOT's going to be very busy for the next year, at least the next year.
Oh,
so,
that's good. And one that every time, and if you've got thoughts, questions for the chairman, send us a text at 601-879-4395. One of the topics that every time a legislator is on with me, People want to know where we are on the ballot initiative, on restoring a ballot initiative process.
Well, that's, again, of course, I was chairman of Constitution, and now that's Representative Price Wallace. And, well, before the session started, I'd met with Jason, and he said, look, what are your thoughts on it? And I said, man, we need to do it. And he said, okay, that's the first thing I want to do. And do it right out of the gate. And we did. And it was, we were debated on the floor for about an hour and got it through. And then it just, the signature count just kind of killed it in the Senate again. We just couldn't quite come to an agreement on it. But I've been talking to the chairman, Price Wallace, and we'll take it on next year. We got a lot further. I really was optimistic about it this year.
And is that the major hang-up, the number of signatures you have to get it on the ballot?
Yes, that it always comes down to that. We're willing to work with kind of whatever, anything else, but the signature, we wanted to be fair about it. And, because to get 100,000 plus signatures, I mean, that's hard to do.
Right.
And if you're talking, you want to make it 200,000, I mean, just your regular person, there's no way they can do that.
And with this, one of the other issues I know that's been discussed is, whether it goes in the Constitution, whether it goes into law, whether y'all can come back and amend something. Yeah. Are those pretty well settled, or is that still kind of up for debate?
No, we're all in agreement between the Senate and the House that it would be statute only.
Okay.
Yeah, and it would be an absolute nightmare to put something in the Constitution because you can't get it out. And, sometimes you don't know how these things are going, just like medical marijuana. You're not real sure how it's going to be, the following year.
Yeah.
And we've had to go in there and tweak that several times.
Well, that's the thing, and this, but almost any time you pass a major piece of legislation, the following year, there's always some technical fixes where people come back and say, well, we need to do a little here, we need to do a little there. We didn't anticipate this section working that way. So I agree with you. I think you put it in the Constitution completely, it puts you in a bad position. You're
exactly right. I had several conversations with some different groups in the medical marijuana program, and even after that first attempt, they came to me and they're like, I'm really glad that did not end up in the Constitution. That wouldn't have been, good.
Now, I know people are worried that if we do, I know some of the people who aren't as excited about restoring the ballot initiative, that they give examples of like recreational marijuana. I think they're concerned that you're going to have some folks come in, put a lot of money behind something, and maybe pass some things that people really wouldn't be that supportive of if they thought more about it.
Yeah, and that's certainly a concern. That did get brought up here and there. We just, Chairman Wallace and I just thought it'd be, the way to go for just the citizens. There was just several that want it, and but yeah, I mean that was a concern. That's kind of a catch-22 about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think so long as you all, my thinking is so long as I know there was talk at one point that maybe the legislature couldn't amend something that got passed for some period of time, that might be a part of the deal.
That's been in the bill and out of the bill.
Yeah.
We've had it both ways, and just trying to use that as we just really focused on getting a vehicle to the Senate this year.
That makes sense.
So.
I think it's important y'all are able to amend it, because I do think at some point somebody's going to pass something with an unintended consequence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not necessarily somebody who's doing it nefariously. Something's just going to get passed and people are going to go, ooh, we didn't realize that was going to be the effect of that section, and y'all need the ability to come back and fix it.
Absolutely.
Well, here's one of the questions on the C Spire text line. When does your squatting bill go into effect?
All right. So usually it would go in July, but the Senate wanted to add something, which I was totally okay with. It was Scott Delano came to me and said, look, can we extend this for 180 days? Kind of give everybody a chance to, rectify their vehicle. I said, absolutely. That's fine with me. So we got 180 days, and then it's go time.
180 days after July 1st?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a little bit of time to go.
Yeah, you got a little bit of time to
Can you unsquat a car? Is that a...
Yeah. What they did is they would buy a lift kit, and they'd only buy half of it.
Okay.
Or because they're essentially only using for the front of the car. So, you would have to take it off, or you could raise the back up.
Okay.
Your choice.
But there is a way to fix it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What about, we got a few questions about taxes that have come in. Is income tax, clearly it's dead for this year, eliminating income tax, but is that still something the House is going to be taking a look at?
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely take another look at it next year, but we had so many big things, and this year we just just couldn't get to it. And I know the governor was pushing it, and several in the House were pushing it, but just couldn't get something working on it this year.
Well, I know that's been a priority of the Speaker and of Chairman Lamar, so I imagine we'll be hearing more about that. Now, I understand you're fixing to get married. Is that the...
That's right. End of this month, okay. I am getting married, and we're going to... Looking forward to it. Well,
I'm sure now that you're on the far side of the legislative session, it's you got a little more time to do some planning.
That's right. That's my focus right now. So it's coming up a few ideas for next year, and then getting married and figuring out where we're going to go.
Well, that's exciting stuff. Congratulations on a good long legislative session. I know you're happy to be on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking time. We've had Representative Fred Shanks here. This is Lucien Smith in for Gerard Gibbert here on Middays on SuperTalk Mississippi, coming to you live from the Element Wealth Studio.